Welcome back, everyone. Today, we are diving into one of the most anxiety filled topics, I could say. We are seeing across Reddit and immigration forums as well the increasing delays in PERM and I-140 processing, and whether these delays are actually putting green card applicants at risk. So, we're going to talk about all of this today in this episode. I hope you all are very excited, just like I am. Welcome to Immigration Show. I'm Nipasa. I'm going to be a host for today's session, and it's going to be on a very important topic. And we've got this important disclaimer to keep in mind throughout this whole episode today, throughout this whole session. And that is by watching our videos, you'll agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. And with that in mind, today's topic of discussion is going to be are processing delays in PERM and I-140 putting green card applicants at risk? And if you are one of them, navigating through PERM or I-140, I'm sure you have a lot of questions and maybe experiences to share with us. So please feel free to comment wherever you're watching. We are live right now on YouTube and also on LinkedIn, Facebook, and on X. So comment wherever you're watching. And in today's session, we're going to be joined by our guest, who is none other than a familiar face, actually. He is a very renowned immigration attorney based out of Dallas, Texas, from SPB Law Firm, Attorney Chand Parvathaneni. Please help me welcome him back to the show. Hi, Chand. I hope you're doing good today.
Thank you, Nipasa. And today we have a very good topic. We're going to talk about the perm delays. Perm is like pretty much the very first step for somebody who's on an employment visa for them to embark on their green card journey. And perm is a very complex process. And in the middle of this AI layoffs attributed to AI, a lot of people are losing jobs in the tech industry. Tech industry is pretty much the main place where the people get into this perm process. So in the middle of what's going on with the layoffs, what's going on with the slowness in the tech industry because of the layoffs that we are hearing because of AI impact, it will have a direct impact even on the perm, not only on the perm, and that's going to boil down to the I-140s. So we're going to talk about what is happening. Is the government really slowing it down, or is it because of the market conditions and what's going on? And the best time for somebody to start their perm process and anything associated with perm and I-140 process in the current climate, in the current climate where we are hearing about so many layoffs in the tech industry.
Absolutely. And it's going to be a very interesting one, and I hope that you have more of the updates to share and at least some good news before the year end, Chan. This whole year has been very eventful, I could say, as far as immigration is concerned. Probably every week or even if not every month, there has been
So
so
one good
many changes.
news, yeah, one good news I saw yesterday was the Department of State announced the new January visa bulletin.
Mhm.
And in the January visa bulletin, things were very promising because compared to the last couple of months, we saw a big jump in EB1 for India. So we saw a jump in a lot of other categories. So overall, I think in the last couple of months, the bulletin that just got released by Department of State yesterday was a lot better than what I've seen in the last couple of months. And at least it shows that Department of State, they're advancing the priority dates. And whoever is kind of getting close to their priority dates at least can now take their process to the next step. If they're eligible, they can file their I-485s. So hopefully, at least things are moving ahead. And to me, that was pretty good to hear when I saw the January bulletin come out yesterday.
Absolutely exciting. Thank you for sharing that update as well. So, good news. I hope you folks out there go check out the January visa bulletin as well, and also check out our space because we do have updates for you. So, our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. Don't forget to subscribe to us. And also, friends, you can dial in wherever you're watching us. You can also call in to ask your questions with as Attorney Chand is going to be here with us for quite some time. So the number is what you can see on the screen above, 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988-888. So join us. And also, hello to Sid Mohan, one of our very regular viewers. It's very nice that he very actively participates. So, thank you for joining us. And Chand, my first question to you today on this topic would be, what's really causing delays, and are they just backlogs, or is something deeper happening behind the scenes?
So the perm delays are not technically just because of the volume of perm filings or anything. And what I mean, we are seeing is these backlogs started even during the old administration, during the President Biden's administration. And again, not only that, this year what happened was we saw the government shut down for 40 plus days, and that's going to contribute more to the delays in the next couple of months. The main reason where I think the delays have started is because in the past, DOL used to use a website called PLC. They used to use the PLC website for their perm processing. And during the last administration, towards the end of the administration, they moved to a system called flag.gov. So it's a new website that we currently use. And when they moved to the flag.gov website, the process got changed a little bit. Ever since the process was moved to the flag.gov, we are seeing a lot of backlogs. The initial backlogs were almost 1 year. And in the recent months, it is almost taking 15 to 16 months once the perm is filed. So basically, what used to take 4 months a couple of years back, even during President Trump's first administration, is now taking 15 to 16 months. And what that pretty much means is you file the perm, and for 15 or 16 months, you'll not even see any kind of an adjudication. So even for the Department of Labor to process these filings, nowadays is taking 15 to 16 months. And as of this week, we are seeing cases from the second week and the third week of August August of 2024 being processed. So you can pretty much see how bad the backlogs are. And in general, the backlogs are real. And it is also, we also have a compliance focused approach all the time. And what that means is the whole entire perm process is meant to protect the US worker. And that's a given, it's a part of the process. And what that means is every company has a burden to prove that they don't have minimally qualified US applicants before they can file the perm application. And what that means is in the last 3 4 years, the market conditions were very good, the tech industry was hiring, they were having a lot of shortage. So it was very clear. And this year, I think we have heard a lot about AI impacted job layoffs in the tech industry. And what that means is a lot of companies are going to fail the perm processing. We have a lot of clients who are coming back and saying they are seeing minimally qualified candidates, which is good. The perm process, that means that the perm process is working. So every company has to advertise carefully and look and recruit US workers. If they have any minimally qualified US worker, the perm process cannot be done. If they have not received any qualified applicants, that is the only time the perm process can continue. And what that means is because of these layoffs, even adjudicators, they're going to spend more time reviewing the job descriptions, they're going to spend more time reviewing the recruitment steps, employer consistency, and then take a decision. And all this is going to boil down to more backlogs. On top of it, when you add the staffing shortages, all these things, they're going to slow down the decision making. So the whole thing is the perm process backlogs have a direct impact with economic uncertainty, the industry. So if this particular industry, for example, in our case, for example, say we talk about the tech industry. So the tech industry is going to have layoffs. We can directly see an impact on the perm backlogs. So a lot would depend on how exactly the economy is moving forwards, how exactly are the unemployment rates in this industry, and so on. And this is definitely going to have an impact on the perm backlogs. And that being said, these perm backlogs are not something that have started just in the last 5 6 months. We are seeing these backlogs probably in the last 2 years or so. And if you see, like about 4 5 years back, it was about 4 months. Now, pretty much you can expect 15 to 16 months for the perm cases.
Okay. So much, Chand, for taking that up for us. And I have to say that we have a caller who has joined us, Shravan from and it seems he has another question for you. So, Shravan, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thanks, Nipasa. Thanks. Yeah, my amendment is in progress, waiting for approval. In the meantime, can I apply it for visa for my wife while amendment still pending?
Was that audible, Chand?
Is it my
It was not. Can you
yes,
repeat
I
your question?
Please repeat.
my amendment is in progress, waiting for approval. In the meantime, can I apply for visa for my wife? She's in India.
Oh, I got it. Yeah. So I think what's happening is I got it. Yeah. So what is happening is you have an H1B amendment in progress. So it is not approved yet, but it is in progress. And then your wife wants to apply for a H4 visa. It is allowed because the rule is the USCIS rule is once an amendment has been filed, based on the receipt, you can start working on your new project. And since the USCIS rule says that you can work on a receipt, the amendment has been filed timely. Your spouse is allowed to go for visa stamping, for H4 visa stamping, even while your amendment is in process. So pretty much what she would show is she would show your initial approval along with the receipt copy, and she would take a letter from your employer confirming your current location, current job, current salary, and your latest pay stubs, and she is allowed to go for stamping. So even while your amendment is in process, she is eligible to get her H4 visa because you already have an approval for which an amendment is in progress.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, we can go for H4 visa. I think we don't have any issues with the go to visa.
That is correct because you are allowed to work while the amendment is in progress. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, she should be good.
Chand, I have one question. Currently, so most of the matters are not filing the PAN due to this limitation of current immigration. So can we file with other employers if who are available? Like few of them is not interested to file the PAN. Can I approach with other employers, other vendors?
So
I'm
the
working for
USCIS,
some process and all. Is it good?
I mean, what I get is if you're looking for a transfer, so the government gives you that ability to transfer to any bona fide employer. So you have this portability. So on an H1, so if you have any other legitimate employer with a bona fide assignment, they should be allowed to file a transfer, and you should be able to work based on the receipt. So to me, if you're looking for a new employer, if the new employer has a bona fide assignment, you are good to transfer as long as it's a bona fide job assignment, and that employer is going to pay you as per the LCA requirement.
Check it out. Okay, you were on mute actually. Thank you so much, Chand, for taking that up. And also, Shravan, thank you for joining us with your question. I hope you got your answer. And please feel free to also contact Attorney Chand Parvathaneni. You can check him out on the link which you can see on the screen. And yes, thank you so much, Shravan, once again. So, Chand,
Thank you so much. Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
So, Chand, we have more questions, and also John, who has joined us, is asking: is this a right time to initiate the process?
Sure. So my view is, if a company is going to ready to sponsor your perm, they should start it as quickly as possible. Because the reason is perm is a very complex process. By the nature of this perm process, based on the regulatory burden that every company has, it's a slow process. Perm cannot be done quickly. It's a very, very slow process. There are multiple steps. You have to apply for the prevailing wage. You have to wait. You have to advertise. You have to again vet through all the resumes that you have received. You have to have a cooling off period of 30 days. So there are multiple steps that have to be followed. And what that means is, if the company is ready to sponsor you for perm, they should start right away and then go through all the steps, because it's a cumbersome process, it's a slow process, and you have to document each and every step. Perm audits are possible, DOL audits are possible. And what that means is, every step has to be clearly documented, every step has to be followed. There are no shortcuts to perm process. So to me, if an employer is ready to start the process, the sooner they start, the better it is, because this entire process to apply the perm itself is a lengthy process. If you start the perm processing and the company decides to sponsor you, it takes on average it takes at least 7 to 8 months just to get to the point where you can apply for the perm. And then once you apply for the perm, it's another 15 to 16 months, because it's a slow process where every step has to be carefully be documented and proven, because you just can't file just like that. So the bottom line, the sooner the better. The sooner the company can start, the better it is. And every job is different, and every uh, place of employment is different, because by the nature of perm, the company has to advertise that job in the format that DOL has regulated, go through the process, look for all US workers, and only if they do not find any minimally qualified workers for that particular position, only then perm can be applied. So there is a huge process. And what that basically means is, yes, the companies can start as quickly as possible, but they can only file if they go through all the process and they satisfy the burden of proof that is required on that company.
Thank you so much, Charles, for taking that up. And Job, thank you for participating with your question. I hope you got your answer. And you were saying about, 7 to 8 months, but we also hear it goes up to 9 to 8 months. So why are so many firm cases now stretching so long? And is this the new normal, 9 to 10 months?
Um, I mean, nowadays it is not 9 to 10 months; it is actually 15 to 16 months. So it's kind of like it's kind of a pretty lengthy process right now. And I mean, increased volumes have definitely overwhelmed the processing capacity, but that is not probably the only reason. I think there are multiple reasons. Increased filing volumes is one reason, but again, there is more increased compliance. And not only that, the entire perm process is a very complex process. Even the adjudicators, they have to look at multiple things to ensure that everything is compliant. They have to look at the prevailing wage. They have to look at the job duties in the perm, match it to the prevailing wages, make sure everything is accurate, make sure the wages are accurate. And they have to look at the travel requirements, the relocation requirements. And not only that, they also have to look at the business necessity. So by the nature of the perm filing itself, it's a complex process, and the government has to ensure that the perm process is very thorough. The reason is, if the perm process is not thorough, the US worker is going to be impacted. So in the interest of the industry in general, the perm process has to go through all the steps. And what that means is, because of the recent layoffs, because of the tech industry, what is happening in the tech industry with AI impact, when there are more people, when there are more US workers looking for a job, the government also has a burden to ensure that all the requirements are carefully met. There is no US worker who is minimally qualified for that particular perm position. And what that means is, we can expect the perm process to be slow even in the next, I would say, 1 2 years. And everybody should expect 15 to 16 months. Not only that, in the recent times, we had a government shutdown of more than 40 days. And what that means is, everything is going to get slowed down because of the government shutdown. People are not able to work for those 40 plus days. And the 15 to 16 months is going to continue. People should incorporate that timeline into their process, because there are strict rules on how many years a person can stay on H1B. Everybody only has 6 years of timeline on H1B. And the perm process, their I-140 process, will play a part on whether they can extend after 6 years or not. And 15 to 16 months, I think, is going to stay for the next 1 to 2 years. And there is nothing that I think can be done to speed up that process, because by the nature of the perm process, there are so many things that are so complex. And what that means is, even though the timelines are not permanent, longer timelines should be assumed and should be carefully be incorporated when planning an immigration strategy. And every company should be compliant with all the rules and regulations that are required before the company can even file for the perm.
Okay. There you go, friends. Thank you so much, Chand, for taking that up. And we do have some questions from Sid Mohan, which we can address as well. So he's asking, is the perm based I-140 processing time lesser than EB2 NIW I-140 processing?
So the EB2 NIW, the beauty is they don't have to go through the perm process. So anybody that is going through the EB2 NIW is basically national interest waiver. Anybody going through that process gets a waiver of the perm process. So basically, what the government is saying is, if you can show that your petition is in the interest of the nation, a national interest, they will waive the perm requirement. So a lot of eligible folks, what they are able to do is, they can go through the I-140 process self-petition their I-140, and if they're able to prove that it is in the interest of the nation to waive this perm process, they can quickly get their I-140 process done. They can do it in premium, and they can skip the entire perm process. So the entire perm process of 15 to 16 months, plus the 7-8 months pre-processing before filing the perm, the recruitment process, all of that process uh, uh, can be avoided. But the burden of proof is very, very high. And what that means is the I-140 has to be filed, and one has to convince USCIS that it is in the interest of the nation to waive the perm process. And what that means from a practical standpoint is, it is NIWs are not easy. The government has to be satisfied. So they have a set of criteria that have to be satisfied to waive the perm process. But anybody that is highly qualified, those people typically go for NIW because they don't have to go through the whole the EB2 or EB3 process, the routine process where somebody has to go through the perm process that the employer files, and then file for the I-140 after the perm is approved. No, they can skip that process if they're eligible. And so people should definitely explore the NIW process, because NIW means they don't even have to rely on an employer. Even without going through without their employer, they can directly get the I-140 done by filing for NIW. But the bottom line is, the government has a very, very strict criteria to be satisfied before they can waive the NIW. But if people feel that they have those qualifications, that is something what they should definitely explore. And the good thing is, USCIS has premium processing for NIW, which means they can get a very, very quick decision without going through the entire 1-2 years of the I-140 process or the perm process.
Okay. Sure, but we were hearing that, with premium processing and RFE is a sure thing. Is that true also, Chand?
Again, so there are a lot of misconceptions about premium processing. Some people think that because they're paying extra to the government, the premium processing fee of 2,805, some people think the government will be lenient towards them. And some people think that because they're paying that fee, now the government has to process the case in a very, very short amount of time. Under pressure, the officer might give an RFE. And to me, my experience is it does not matter, because the government is not going to cause an issue because somebody paid for premium, or be lenient because the officer is going to do his job, whether somebody pays the 2,805 extra fee or not. So whether somebody pays the premium processing fee or not, I don't typically see the outcome being different, because end of the day, it depends on the officer, it depends on the merits of the case. So if somebody's case is strong, the officer is going to approve it. If somebody's case is weak, the officer is going to issue an RFE. So to me, again, if somebody is in a hurry, they should definitely explore the premium option, because premium gets things done in a faster way. It will not make the case easy, but it will get an answer in a faster way. So if time is of essence, definitely I think people should explore the premium option if it is available. And if people can wait, definitely I think I mean, they can wait and let it go through the normal process. From a USA standpoint, whether somebody pays for premium or not, it will not impact the case in terms of approval rate. In terms of approval rate, it should be the same. The only advantage somebody will have is things will get done in a faster process.
Okay. Thank you so much, John, for that. And this has been, I think many folks have been commenting also on the same note. So thank you so much for clarifying that. And Sid Mohan is also asking about NIW I-140, which has been pending since last 13 months. So what would you suggest at this time, given filing premium might lead to an RFE, as officers might not be reading the petition carefully? Do you think
I
that's
mean,
true?
yeah, to me, if a petition has been pending for more than 13 months, probably it is getting close to final adjudication. Because I think it's about time to see some kind of a response from USCIS. My opinion is, if somebody is not in a hurry, or if their priority date is not current, let it go in its normal process. I think you're very, very close to getting some kind of an adjudication. But again, if you're getting close to your 6 years H&B timeline, then you need an approval. Or say there is some other criteria. Maybe your dates are current, and so you really need an approval fast to go through the 485 process. To me, then definitely explore the premium option. But if not, since you already waited for 13 months, you're probably very, very close. And if you probably wait another month or two, more than likely you will see something. So I think everybody's case is different. In your case, if you really have a solid reason, go ahead with the upgrade. If not, I think you're very close. I think you're at a point where USCIS is probably going to adjudicate your petition very soon.
Thank you so much, and Sid Mohan. Thank you for your questions. I hope you got your answers. And so, Chand, I have more questions for you. If you could tell us, why do applicants here firm approvals, are being slowed intentionally, amid layoffs and economic uncertainty?
So I think a lot of applicants feel it is intentional slowing down, but unfortunately, what we are seeing is the timing is coinciding with the large scale layoffs in a lot of big IT firms, like big IT companies are doing a lot of large scale layoffs, and whenever unemployment rises, I think in general people just assume that government is more hesitant to approve labor certifications. However, from an official policy standpoint, there is no official policy that says they have to slow down the cases. But every officer, they have a burden and they have to do their job, which means they have to go through each and every case to ensure that every case, every perm case meets the burden of proof. And what that means is when the job market is weak, the burden becomes a lot higher just because by the nature of this program, US worker has to be protected. And when there are job losses across the board, there is definitely a need for more extra vetting because the perm cannot be filed if there are minimally qualified US workers. And when there are layoffs, always there is a chance that you might have a US worker who is impacted by the layoff, who might be available for the job and who is minimally qualified. And what that means is employers have to convincingly show that there are no qualified US workers available. And if there are qualified US workers available, and we're talking about minimal qualification, so somebody cannot say yes, the US worker is qualified but my foreign worker is more highly qualified. No, it is the minimal qualification that is required. So if a job requires, for example, some kind of a qualification, if a job has some kind of a qualification, all the employer is allowed to look for is minimal qualification. So they cannot compare and say my foreign worker is more highly qualified. No, they have to look at just the minimal qualifications. If they just look at the minimal qualifications, and then they have to make a decision. And what that means is, in this environment of heightened economic uncertainty, a lot of layoffs attributable to AI, because in the future maybe AI will generate more jobs. We don't know, but at this point of time, a lot of companies, I think, are they're just getting nervous about this whole AI, or maybe they are trying to kind of show cost savings with the use of AI, and they're kind of jumping the gun and then kind of doing a lot of layoffs. In middle of all these layoffs, definitely we're going to see perm issues. The reason being, whenever there are more US workers that could be available, the process will be slowed down because there is a lot of burden of proof that has to be satisfied. So I don't think it is intentional on anybody's part. It is just that when we look at the job losses in the tech industry due to this whole AI impact, I just feel that it is just the nature of this industry that is causing these delays, and there is nothing intentional. And from that standpoint, even if you look at how things were 2 years back, things were pretty slow, because this particular kind of a slowness has not started in this administration. It has started in the Biden administration itself. So in the last 2 years, pretty much we have seen perms being slowed down, and I just expect that to continue at least for the next 1 year or so.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Chand, for taking that up. And we do have Kumar and Job also, who has come up with another question. I'd like to take up Kumar's, who's asking, my I-140 non-premium is pending since September 2024. What are the processing times now? And is it better to go for premium or wait?
If it is 14 months, I think pretty much, it should be right there. I mean, most of the cases the regular cases, we're looking at about 1 year, so 12 months. So I think 14 months, I think it is pretty close. That being said, I think we're close to holiday season. So usually things are a little bit slower during holiday season because a lot of people tend to go on vacations and so on. But I think if it is 14 months, I think it is about time. And again, that being said, the I-140 approval for some people means that they're able to use it to get a 3-year extension. And for some people, it means that they're able to apply for a H4 EAD. So from that standpoint, I think looking at premium is definitely a good option. From my standpoint, if anybody has a good reason for I-140, I think anytime after 6-7 months, I think it's a good time to start looking at the premium option. But if you're already close to 14 months, I think you're right there, because usually majority of the cases nowadays, once they are hitting the 1 year mark, we are seeing some kind of an adjudication, either an RFE, either an approval, or something along those lines. So to me, if it is 14 months, more than likely you'll see something very, very soon. But if you don't want to delay your process, I would definitely suggest going in premium, because even after you get an RFE and you answer the RFE, it might take more time. So depending on your case, depending on uh, the nature of your company, the ability to pay, how things are, I definitely would advise you to at least look at the premium option.
Thank you so much for that, and Kumar, thank you for your question. Um, we do have Sean in LinkedIn asking, I hope you assist candidates from African countries. So do you, Chand?
So for the EB filings, pretty much like you need to have an employer. So as long as you're an employer and the employer goes through the process, we work with pretty much like we have clients from all over the world, South America, Africa, Asia, Europe, because US immigration, uh, it's basically for anybody who's a non-US citizen. But the rules, they have some rules based on the country. So whenever we talk about the green card process, uh, so we have country quotas that limit the immigration to 7%. So basically, when we talk about the country quotas, when we talk about the EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, EB5 process, it is based on the country of birth. So based on your country of birth, uh, one country can only get 7% of the total quota. So when you talk about, say, for example, African countries do not have a lot of employment-based immigration, and what that means is the backlogs are a lot less. African countries do not have a lot of backlogs. Usually, China and India have a lot of backlogs when it comes to employment-based immigration. So if your country of birth is from Africa, usually your process will be a lot more faster than from somebody who's from a very backlogged country such as India or China.
Thank you so much, Chand, for taking that up for Seun. Seun, I'm not very sure how do you pronounce your name, but thank you so much for participating with your question. And don't forget to leave us a like. Also, subscribe to our channel, friends. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. Check us out on YouTube. You can also join with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and also on X and on Instagram. So, Job is back with another question asking, with the current changes in immigration scrutiny, what are the success percentage rate and what are major RFE reasons?
Sure. So again, I think the rules have not changed. So in terms of what is going on, nothing has changed. And unfortunately, the H-1B program, it's a program that was designed in 1990s. And there's a lot of debate. Is a program that was designed in 1990s even valid for the current timelines? We are in 2025. This is a program that was designed 35 years back. Uh, is it relevant? Do we need some reforms? So these kind of questions are definitely very relevant, because some of the programs, some of the laws were made a long time back. Apart from that, if we look at the success rate or the percentage rate, the current administration, they have not changed rules drastically. All we are seeing is more compliance. They want everybody to be more compliant, and what that means is, if the company is going through a PERM process, if the company is going through a H1B process or a L1 process, they're trying to make sure that everybody is compliant. In terms of rule changes, we have not seen any major rule changes yet. So in terms of the I-140s, there is a proposal out there to change the definition of bona fide employment for the purpose of I-140. It has not been finalized yet. For H-1B, there are some rule changes out there. How are they going to do the lottery this year? So there are some proposals out there which are going through the rule making process. They have not been done yet. So in terms of reform, we are seeing a lot of ideas out there. A lot of things are going through the rule making process, such as wages and so on. But we have not seen any major changes in terms of the regulations. The core H-1B program is still from 1990, the Immigration Act of 1990. So definitely, I think a lot of reform is still needed to ensure that US worker is still protected. At the same time, the country is not getting impacted, because as a country, we want US to have the top talent from all over the world. And when we talk about top talent, we are not looking at only the top 100 most brilliant people. We are looking at the industry as a whole. We want people who will come and assist the IT industry. And what that means is, yes, we're going to see a lot more rule changes, but at this point of time, what I'm seeing is if people are compliant, they don't have any criminal history, they respect the US culture, because social media checks are a big part of compliance right now. Somebody cannot go on social media and talk something bad about the culture of the country and expect to be welcome in US. So social media checks are very important. Criminal rules, the criminal violations are going to make a big impact. If somebody has a DUI, that is not allowed. That is a major violation. If somebody has a shoplifting offense, that is a major violation. They're going to see their visa cancelled. If they have some kind of a domestic violence issue, they're going to see some issue. So for people who have had some kind of violations or some kind of compliance issues, those people are definitely going to see some issues. But if not, if people are following the rules and the companies are following the rules, in terms of success percentage, we're not seeing anything different this year versus last year. If you look at the success rate in terms of I-140s or H-1B, when compliance is there, I don't expect any issues. When there is no compliance, the government is able to come back and say this is what is the issue. We have seen a lot more issues, because I've seen just this month we have seen so many cases where people have got a email from the consulate saying the visa has been cancelled, the visa has been prudentially revoked. But all those people have had some kind of a violation in the past or some kind of a derogatory information that caused this issue. So the bottom line is immigration scrutiny. Yes, there is a lot of immigration scrutiny, but again, if people have not violated any rules, they are compliant. Those people are not absolutely having any kind of uh, uh, a change in percentage rate. H1Bs are still getting approved, I-140s are still getting approved, perms are still getting certified, as long as there is compliance. When there is no compliance nowadays, because of AI, the government is very very easily able to spot issues. They have good systems. So if somebody has a criminal issue in some small city, some kind of a shoplifting offense in a small city, previously it was hard for the federal government to know about it. Nowadays, with all this AI, with all this integration of computer systems, they're able to spot issues very very quickly. And what that means is the issue will flow to their computer systems very quickly, and they are acting upon it. So unless there is a compliance issue, or unless there is some kind of a violation of some US law, whether it is federal, state, or local, I don't expect anybody to have any issue. And a major the new kind of RFEs that I've seen this year have to deal with biometrics. Okay, and when people have a biometrics RFE, we immediately know that they had some kind of a violation in the past that was flagged. So biometrics RFEs, any derogatory information, any kind of arrests, these are the new kind of RFEs that we are seeing this year. And also another trend in RFEs is, because of AI, they can look at your pay stubs and clearly catch if the employer has any kind of pay violations. They can simply look at year to date, because there's a lot of misconception that USCIS looks at only the last two pay stubs or the last three pay stubs. No, they're not looking for the number of pay stubs. They're looking at the year to date amounts, and their computer systems can easily catch, looking at the year to date amount that the employer has paid somebody. The systems can easily catch if there is a violation. So we're seeing a lot of RFEs where they're talking about maintaining status. They're going to go back and say, looking at your pay stubs, we don't think your employer is paying you the right salary. We have seen a lot of uptick on those RFEs. And when the site visits happen, they're going to look at, is the employer paying your salary or not. So what everybody should do is look at your LCA, look at your salary, see if you're being paid the right amount. If employer is not paying the right amount, then the employer is in non-compliance. USCIS is definitely going to cause an issue. They might not catch an issue now, but at some point of time, the systems will catch it. So the bottom line is, everybody should be looking at, are they getting paid the right salary? Are they working from the right location? Uh, and not just the criminal violations. I mean, criminal violations are a big thing, but even the regular violations, such as the pay, the work location, the job duties. If there is any kind of a violation, the system will catch it, because there is so much of integration between various computer systems. So that's pretty much what we are seeing in the recent times.
It's very interesting. Thank you so much, John, for sharing that with us. And thank you, Job, for making this show a more interesting one with your question. So those were some of the latest types of RFEs that has been trending this year, rather. So thank you, John, for sharing that. So we have more questions for you, Chand. I wanted to also know, how risky is a delayed perm, for someone approaching the H-1B max out limit?
Sure. So there is a huge risk because of these increased delays, because everybody has only 6 years of time And after 6 years on H1B, they cannot extend their H1B unless their perm process has started and they're at a particular stage. So the perm has to be filed. It has to be pending for more than at least 1 year before they can apply for an extension based on that pending perm. Or if they get an I-140 approved, they're all set. And previously, it was a lot easy because perms were getting approved very quickly and things were fast. Nowadays, because the perm processing time is very bad, perm is taking a very, very long time to get an approval. And until the perm is approved, people cannot file for an I-140 under EB2 or EB3. And until I-140 is approved, they cannot get 3 years of extension. And what all these means is everybody has to be cognizant of the max out limit. The max out is 6 years. So if they are approaching 6 years, unless they have perm process at a particular stage, they might not get an extension. And what that means is the perm has to be pending at least for 1 year. And that means that by the time their 5 year timeline ends on their H1B, if somebody has spent 5 years on their H1B in US, their perm has not even been filed. Pretty much they can assume that they might not be able to get an extension after their 6 year ends. And hence, what everybody should be realizing is there is a huge risk if the company is not able to file the perm. If the company is not able to file the perm, they cannot get an extension. So to me, the perm, somebody should get their perm process started as quickly as possible, because even if the company starts the perm process, there is no guarantee that the perm can be filed, because there is a mandatory recruiting step. Every company has to go through the mandatory recruitment step, and if they fail the mandatory requirement step, the company has to stop the perm filing. They don't have a choice. That is how the rules are, and that is what the company has to do. So pretty much sometimes the company might not even be in a spot to file the perm even if they want to, because they're not able to satisfy the recruitment step. So everybody should be working with their employer to get their perm process started as quickly as possible. But end of the day, whether the company can file the perm or not, we just don't know. We just have to go through the perm recruitment process, and only once the perm recruitment process is over, that is when the company can come back and say, yes, we can either file or we cannot file. Meanwhile, if there are layoffs, in your particular profession in the company, then again the company cannot file for the perm without looking at the US workers. They have to initially look and try to hire the US workers before they can even file the perm. So when there are layoffs, the company will have a challenge, then the company cannot even file the perm. So layoffs could cause layoffs in your own company can cause challenges, and layoffs in the external industry can also cause challenges. And the bottom line is perm is a very, very rigorous step. Everybody has to go through that rigorous step before perm can be filed. And what that means is nobody should be waiting until their 5th year or 6th year for their perm process. If the perm process is getting delayed, then definitely your H1B is at risk.
Thank you so much, Chand, for taking that up. And we have Bakler, who has also joined us, asking, is it safe to go Canada for a day for automatic visa revalidation? Got a new passport, valid visa stamped in the old passport, have valid Canadian passport.
Um, so automatic visa revalidation is a process where I've encouraged a lot of people to use it. So I'll give a brief summary of what automatic visa revalidation is. If somebody is in US, they have an expired US visa, but they have a valid I-797 with a valid I-94 on their I-797 notice from USCIS, and they want to visit either Canada or Mexico, and they want to travel to Canada or Mexico for less than 30 days, but they don't want to apply for a visa. In that case, they can use the expired visa. They can use the new valid I-797 copy with their I-94. They can travel to Mexico or Canada with an expired visa and come back. So basically, somebody can go to Canada and return back to US uh, as long as they're coming back in less than 30 days, as long as they have a valid 797 with a valid I-94. So basically, their 797 with I-94 acts as their visa when used in conjunction with their expired US visa. So a lot of people who want to travel to Canada or Mexico and have an expired visa, they might be able to use this automatic visa revalidation. Usually there is no challenge, as long as they're coming back into US to comply with the terms of their I-797 with a valid I-94. So it is something a lot of people use all the time. To me, it is safe as long as you don't have any criminal history, you're complying with the terms of your visa, you don't have any violations in your status. You've always maintained your status. Yes, automatic visa revalidation is a very safe process to go to Canada or Mexico and then come back to US.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And Bigler, also thank you so much for participating with your question. Folks, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. You can check us out on YouTube and also on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and on Instagram as well. So also don't forget to check out Attorney Chand Parvathaneni. You can check out the link which you can see on the screen and maybe get in touch with him in case you need to have a one-on-one consultation as well. So thank you for that, Babler. Now we have another question for you, Chand. How do company layoffs actually impact firm cases and do they increase audit risks?
Yes. So company layoffs will directly impact the perm cases because to apply for the perm, every company has to ensure that there are no qualified, minimally qualified US workers available. And when the company does a layoff and they're laying off a US worker, they cannot file the perm because they just laid off a US worker. And we're talking about laying off. So when the company has a layoff and a US worker has been laid off in that particular occupation, the company has to take a step back and the company should not apply for the perm. So whenever there are layoffs in that particular company, the company has to be very, very cautious, and this has to be disclosed to DOL in the perm application. So the bottom line is, if there are layoffs and in the US workers in the same occupation are impacted, the company should not be filing for the perm.
Thank you so much, Chand, for taking that up. And another thing I wanted to know, Chand, is how strict are firm adjudications today, when it comes to minor errors or job description mismatches?
So the perm adjudicators are very, very strict with any issues, even minor errors in the perm application. There is a little bit of a difference between how the perm applications are processed versus how USCIS processes their filings. USCIS, usually if there is some kind of a minor error in the forms, for example, I-129 or I-539 or something, usually the trend is we get an RFE, and if it's a minor error, you can always answer back in the RFE. And USCIS officers are usually very, uh, I mean, they work if it's a minor issue, and they are okay if it's a minor issue that can be addressed. If it's a material issue, even they have a problem. But if it's a minor issue, USCIS officers are a little bit lenient. Now, on the other side, the DOL officers, as far as the perm application is concerned, one cannot make any changes once the perm application is submitted. And the DOL and perm, they don't have a process where an RFE gets issued and we are able to give a clarification and then they'll make a decision. Usually perm, we see direct denials. So if there is even a minor error, sometimes even a minor error such as uh, putting the putting the newspaper name wrong, because as a part of the perm, the jobs have to be advertised in the local newspaper. And suppose there is a minor error in the newspaper name, I've seen the DOL officers come back and deny the perm case and say the newspaper name is incorrect, rather than ask for a clarification and say, hey, was the newspaper name wrong, can you give us the right newspaper name? They will simply deny the perm application. So perm has that very, very additional amount of burden. You cannot even make a minor error, even if it is a non-material error, even if it's a minor error. The I've seen DOL officers being very, very strict and give direct denials. So the difference between USCIS and DOL, where the perm applications are adjudicated, DOL will give direct denials even for minor errors. Luckily, USCIS, if it's a minor error, they'll at least give you a chance by giving you an RFE and ask you to respond back. So perm is one place where one has to go through the perm application multiple times to ensure there is no issue, because perm adjudicators could directly deny the cases even for simple typographical mistakes.
Thank you so much, Chand, for taking that up. And yes, we do have more questions. And I wanted to also know why are I-140 cases now, taking so long, and when delays were rare just a few years ago.
So I-140 is definitely, I think, the regular cases, they're taking a lot longer than what they used to take previously. And I think the reason for that is there is a lot of increased focus on ability to pay. And ability to pay in the I-140 world means not only looking at the I-140 ability to pay for that one particular I-140, but nowadays what I'm seeing USCIS do is they're looking at all the I-140s filed by the company in the past, and they're computing ability to pay for for the for the entire set of I-140 petitions filed by the company. And what that means is we are seeing a lot of RFAs where USCIS is coming back and saying, even though you satisfy the ability to pay for the current instant petition, I-140 petition, since you have these other I-140 petitions filed, shows that you do have the ability to pay for all those I-140 petitions. And what that means is the company now has to go back and uh, they have to produce the pay records for all the I-140s that they have filed. They have to show all the tax returns for the past years. They have to compute the sum of all the payroll records, and then prove that they have the ability to pay when they combine all the multiple petitions together. So we are seeing an uptick in these kind of RFPs a lot. And what that means is, even from a USCIS standpoint, when they're talking about multiple petitions, they have to look at all the numbers, which is going to take a lot more time. So I think just by the nature of the adjudications, I think I-140s are going to take more time when they look at the multiple petitions ability to pay. And that has caused the increased timelines. That being said, the good thing is I-140s do have the premium processing. So for anybody where the premium processing is important, because either they have an H4 EAD to file or they're getting close to their 6 years time period, they should definitely explore the premium processing for I-140s, because I-140s are taking a long time, but luckily there is premium processing available for I-140s.
Thank you so much, Chand, for taking that up for us. And uh, we have Sid Mohan also with more questions. I think we can take one more. That is, can one file H1B amendment plus extension based upon a minor salary, annual increase more than 6 months before the H1B renewal date to have an early renewal?
So my view is, anytime there is even any kind of a small change, you should always revisit what your previous LCA did and what your current change is, and see if it is a material change. And if it is a material change, USCIS mandates that amendment filing is required even before the change happens. So usually any kind of a change, you go back, visit with your HR and see if it is a material change or not. Usually if it is a material change, you can even file for an amendment even 6 months ahead of time, because they say that USCIS says that it has to be done immediately. So if it is a material change, you are mandated to do an immediate amendment filing. And that being said, if suppose you have a small change and if you're in doubt whether it is a material change or not, my view is go back to USCIS, file an amendment, and let USCIS decide if it is a material change or not. Okay, so again, if you're sure that it is not a material change, no, you don't have to file an amendment. But if you are in doubt, my view is, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, there is this change, do you think we are in a safer spot if we apply for an amendment? My view is, by filing an amendment, you're definitely in a good spot, even if it is a minor change that is non-material. Because if there is a change, even if it is a small change, I would always say, always explore the amendment option. But if you know for a fact that it is material change, you have to file the amendment immediately. If not, if USCIS comes back and points that out to you, they will deny the case. So to me, if it's a change, definitely explore the amendment option, and an amendment can be filed even 6 months ahead of time.
Thank you so much. And Sid Mohan, I hope you got your answer. Don't forget to leave us a like, and also share this with your friends and folks who can benefit most from all these important information that we share in this session today. Also, friends, don't forget to check us out. We are at Immigration Talk Show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and on Instagram. Stay in touch with us and subscribe, hit that bell icon so that whenever we have discussions like these, you're notified. So, Chand, I also wanted to know, what happens if an employee gets promoted or receives a raise while PERM or I-140 is pending?
Sure. Again, so normal career progressions usually might not cause an issue, but again, if it's a material change where we are seeing some change of occupation, the company might have to refile the perm. So depending on what is going on, anytime there's a change, always the company should revisit what is going on and make a decision. Because normal career progressions might not cause much of an issue, but if it is like a complete material change where it's a whole different occupation, the company might need to redo the entire perm once again. which is why anytime there is a change, always I think the HR probably has to revisit things, maybe like involve their immigration counsel and revisit things, because if it is material, sometimes a new perm is required.
Thank you so much, John, for taking that up for us. And yes, I also wanted to know this year, which is safer in 2025, staying with the same employer or changing jobs during the green card process?
So to me, again, as long as the employer is a legitimate employer, the job is bona fide. To me, again, I would stick to any employer based on their career path. Because when you say career path, sometimes some people like to take less salary, but work in a company that is like way more stable. Some people, so it depends on everybody's career path. So to me, again, if somebody is on H1B, you have a 6-year limit. So green card process is a big part of being able to get extensions. So if you have an employer where that employer is probably delaying your perm process, or the employer is not interested to do your perm process, but you do have uh, a goal to extend your stay, and you do want to go through the green card process, then probably it is a good idea to look for a new employer who is willing to at least go through the perm process. Again, no employer can guarantee that perm will be successful, because they have to go through the process, they have to go through the recruitment process, and only then they will know whether they'll be able to file or not. But at least if the employer is willing to try and go through all the government mandated regulatory steps, one should always look at that perm process also in their whole big picture, because without the whole perm process, or without the I-140, they cannot extend uh, the H1B. And that being said, everybody, if somebody is highly qualified, they should also look at the national interest waiver. And somebody is even more qualified, they should look at EB1A process. Because if somebody is very, very highly talented, very highly qualified, the government already has EB1A, where somebody can get a green card without even having an employer. The government also has EB2 NIW, national interest waiver, where somebody can just like petition and ask for national interest waiver because of uh, 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 their contribution to the nation. So if somebody is very highly talented, they can even skip the entire perm and explore the EB1A or EB2 NIW process. But if they're not eligible and they have to go through an employer, definitely perm is a big part of their entire process. And what that means is they should be working for an employer where the employer is willing to go through the entire perm process in a legal fashion. So for these reasons, again, change of an employer, to me, uh, what USCIS is currently doing under Trump administration, if everything is bona fide, the job is bona fide, the company is bona fide, you should not see any issue whether you change your employer or not. So it is more about how this new company fits into your whole career path, and ensure that your project is legitimate and it is stable. So I think based on that, I think one has to make a decision.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Chand, for taking that up. And my last question for you today would be, where do the biggest risks truly come from? Perm and I-140 delays themselves or the job instability they create?
Um, I think the biggest risk, in my opinion, is I think the layoffs, because the thing is, we want the H1B program or this whole perm process to supplement the US workforce. We don't want these programs to impact the US workers, because nobody wants the US workers to be jobless. But we want the talent from outside the world to come and supplement the US workforce. And to me, so the biggest risk is the economy. When the economy is good, it will definitely help the US economy. But when we're seeing layoffs, when we see layoffs in US because of various reasons, this year we are seeing, I mean, what we hear is AI, 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 and every company wants to show that AI is making a big impact, and they're trying to reduce their workforce to show that they're saving money through AI. And unfortunately, it is hitting the US workforce. People are getting, I mean, these are real people, these are real lives. And layoffs are bad for anybody, because end of the day, it's a family getting impacted. So when companies just use the word AI and lay people off, people are going to be frustrated, because people are going to be jobless. And when there are layoffs, there is going to be a lot of hate on the employment-based immigration programs, because these employment-based immigration programs, on the other hand, they were created a long time back in 1990s. So there is a valid program, employment-based immigration program. But now these layoffs, unfortunately, are causing a lot of hate, because uh, end of the day, there are layoffs. People are looking for a job, and then we have these employment-based immigration programs that are also impacting the US workforce. So to me, the biggest risk comes from layoffs. If the economy is good, it's a good thing. If not, if there are flaws in the H1B program or this whole perm process, the government has to act and kind of refine these programs, because end of the day, economy is good, everybody is happy, they want the foreign workforce to supplement the US workforce. So we just have to wait and see how things are going on with this whole AI impact, because I I want the AI to help the US economy and create more jobs. But if it is not creating jobs, if it is hitting the economy, if it is causing layoffs, it is bad for everybody involved. I mean, nobody is happy when there are layoffs, because this is what's going to impact real people. So we just have to wait and watch and see what the next year would do in terms of layoffs. If AI is going to positively contribute to the society by creating jobs, I think it'll help everybody. If not, if the layoffs continue and there are more US workers being laid off, I think it will drastically impact this whole entire immigration policy of the government.
For sure, Chand, for sure. I mean, in the past 2 years, there has been so many changes, and AI has definitely made a huge impact, not just in immigration, but in I think every sector. It's taking up a lot of jobs, replacing a lot of people. So I'm not sure. Of course, even AI would need some scrutiny and somebody to look over. And I'm sure jobs are very important because families are getting, fed with all this money and their jobs. So, I mean, that way we'll just have to wait and watch what's going to happen. But yes, we have Sid Mohan asking another question, saying, thanks, this way, can I leapfrog any upcoming H1B wage policy impacts?
So the upcoming H1B wage policy, at this point, we have a lot of proposals in play, but again, there is no final rule published yet. I mean, I think at least for the H1B lottery, I think we will see some kind of a final rule in the next 1 or 2 months if they're going to make the change. So at this point, there are a lot of proposals out there, draft uh, notices out there, but no final rule yet on the H1B wage policy. And that is where the government comes into picture, because sometimes the rules are very, very old, and the government, I think, they do have some proposals out there. At this point, we still have the old rules, uh, but this year, I think there might be some kind of a final rule published, probably in the month of January or February, that could impact the H1B registration. uh, and again, compared to a normal random lottery, to me a wage based registration process makes sense, but we don't know yet how the government is going to implement it, because it has to be fair for everybody. It has to be fair for companies who are trying to hire entry level workers also. So in terms of H1B wage policy, I think that is something what all of us, I think, should be looking for in the next couple of months, to see what the final rule would be in terms of how the government wants to change the current wages in effect.
For sure, for sure. And Sid Mohan, I would request you to get in touch with Attorney Chand Parvathaneni. I can see a lot of questions, and they all need a lot of attention. So I do request you to have a one-on-one consultation with Attorney Chand and reach out to him. You can also check out the link which you can see on the screen and get in touch with him. Chand, it's time to wrap up our session for today. And before we leave, if you could actually give out a tip to all folks out there watching us right now.
Sure. So I think, again, a lot of things are happening, but I think in terms of people who are maintaining status, complying with all the laws, we are not seeing any impact. There is a new policy in place since December 15th, this week, the social media policy at the consulates. And what that means is, anybody that's on social media, make sure your profiles are public. And whenever you're filling up your DS-160, make sure you give all your handles, because all the handles have to be disclosed. And I've talked to people this week who have got 221Gs, but then got their 221G resolved pretty quickly. So again, in terms of what people can expect into the future, I mean, the government encourages people to be on social media. I mean, US as a country encourages freedom of speech. So there is, I mean, nobody has to be worried and worry about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is encouraged. Social media is definitely a good thing. Only thing is, follow whatever the government says, which is, the government is saying the profiles have to be public. So make sure the profiles are public, so tomorrow you don't have any surprises during any of your case filings, any of your visa processing, and so on. Don't get into any trouble, because This year, we have seen so many visa cancellations, prudential revocations of so many visas because of reasons such as shoplifting, assault, DUI, driving without a license, driving without insurance, and so on. So the bottom line is everybody, any non-immigrant in the United States, should always be respectful of the laws, and you should not even get a speeding ticket. Okay, so the thing is, again, that should be the goal. The goal should be, it's not about whether it's a small offense or a big offense. Any offense is an offense, which means be extremely cautious, do not get into any violations of law, be respectful of all the traditions, don't badmouth anybody on social media, don't insult anybody on social media, and do your thing, which means if you are a student, study like you should, attend classes like you should. If you are somebody on H1B, work like you should. You should be paid, and you should always stay and work only from the city where you're allowed to work, and do things in a proper manner. And I don't think you should have any problem, because I think it's all about compliance. And for people complying, I mean, even though the social media sometimes scares you, people get scared, there's nothing to worry. I mean, as long as you're complying, we are seeing approvals, the government is not denying cases. And if government is causing any issue, it is for people who are in non-compliance, not maintaining status, or doing something that they're not supposed to do. If not, this government is not saying they are like abolishing immigration or anything. All they're saying is be compliant, follow the rules. That's all they're saying. And I'm not seeing any increase in denials or anything for people who are doing their things. Okay, we are not seeing any major change in RFEs or anything. So that being said, I think we are hoping that everybody has a successful immigration journey, and things are good. And hopefully, I hope that we don't hear about AI-based layoffs in 2026, because if the economy is good, if the companies are hiring, everybody's happy, and that's what I think I'm hoping for the next year.
It's very important to stay compliant and vigilant. So don't forget to, watch out our space. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. Do check us out, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell so that we have, these important, uh, informative sessions very every now and then, that you don't miss out on any of them. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And in case we don't see you again, Chand, it's the holiday season. I hope you have a good one. And of course, a very Merry Christmas ahead.
Thank you, Nipasa. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. And thank you, friends, for joining us today on Immigration Talk Show. Don't forget to leave us a like and stay in touch with us. Also, keep commenting in case you have more questions, and we will try to reach out and answer each of your questions. But also, don't forget to check out Attorney Chand Parvathaneni. It was lovely having him. He was such an enthusiast, and always, answering all of our questions patiently. Check him out on the link which you can see on the screen. So thank you, everyone. Stay in touch with us, and also keep watching Immigration Talk Show. Bye-bye for now.